Listen, you're a hardworking freelancer who's learned how to defy all the odds and chase your dreams by doing the work you love. But hopefully at this point, you've realized your limitations. You don't have the means to keep a lawyer on retainer, but that doesn't mean that you should just sign any contract that they put in front of you. In the same way, you don't have an IT person on staff, but that doesn't mean you should neglect how you secure yourself, how you secure your data, and definitely how you secure your business. As I share these 7 important security tips with you, keep in mind that the ramifications here are possibly really big. Most freelancers aren't set up to handle even the most basic hack or attack, but thankfully, it doesn't take that much to protect yourself. Welcome to All Things Secured. My name's Josh, and as a small business owner myself, especially one with a relatively high visibility here on YouTube, I've had to navigate the challenges of securing against what's honestly just a lot of unknowns. And I don't expect you to know all the threats you could possibly face, but I am glad that you're taking the time to understand a few of the best practices that you can put in place to lower your risk as a freelancer or a small business owner. So let's dive in. You know how it is. When you're starting something on your own, you have to work with what you have. And often that means giving out your home address and your personal cell phone number since you don't have a separate office or a separate work phone. And that may have been fine before, but this is now, and there is a better way. Consider this: if I'm an unhappy client who wants to make your life hell, or a hacker who thinks that you might be a valuable target since they've seen all the success that you've had online, all I have to do is look up your business records on a government website to find your registered address, which could be your home address, or even just reverse look up your website by Whois. Perhaps you just list your home address straight on your invoices since you have nothing else to add there. Whatever the case, you've now given them a piece of information that is extremely hard for you to change or to take back. I mean, once your home address has been compromised, one of the few options that you have left is to move, and that is not fun. So what if I told you that in less than 30 minutes, you could set up a virtual business address and a virtual phone number so that anytime you receive mail to your freelance business address, even if it's a DBA, you could open and scan it on your phone and never give out your home address? Or that in less than 5 minutes, you could have a new business phone number that works through an app on your phone where you can screen calls without giving out your real cell phone number. And that's what I've done using services like Post-Scan Mail for my address or Hushed for my virtual phone number. There's a little bit of an extra cost, though not much, but it's something that you can expense that adds real protection for you and your family. Run any kind of marketing campaign or online social presence. You know how tempting it is to simply send over your login details for Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, QuickBooks, or any number of software services. And I get it. As a small business owner, you don't want to pay extra for the team plan as opposed to the individual plan, and you're hopefully not going to hire somebody you don't trust. But there's an inherent danger, an unnecessary danger here. And in the best case, you're leaving your account security to chance. And in the worst case, you may be even giving away your password strategy that can be used to access other accounts. For most social media platforms, there is some kind of Teams feature that allows you to add another team member without giving them full access, admin access to your account. In every case, you'll need to make sure that you've set up a business account for that social media, and then you find where you can add other people who either have editor permissions or writing permissions, something like that on your page or profile. For other SaaS services, that's software as a service, it's really up to you. I would evaluate whether or not access to a particular account could be used to cause you damage somehow. So for example, if I'm using Hootsuite, but I don't want to pay for additional users, would giving out my login information to my admin assistant give him or her access to accounts that I may not want them to post on? That's something you'll have to figure out on your own. Speaking of account logins, it's vitally important that you enable two-factor authentication, or 2FA, whenever it's offered. So for example, if you have a YouTube channel like this to market your services, it's not even an option anymore. You have to set up 2FA. YouTube won't let you go without it. Now, Facebook is starting to force you through this as well through its Facebook Protect program that I walked through a couple months ago, and that's really only for accounts that have high visibility. All I'm trying to say here is that if these major companies have realized the importance of protecting your accounts with 2FA, so much so that they're forcing you to use it, that should clue you in on how important this is. But you have so many other online accounts where 2FA is optional to set up. PayPal, your domain registrar, your web host, your email provider, the list goes on, but hopefully you get the point. Setting up 2FA now is easier than trying to recover from a devastating account hack later. Cost-cutting measure for most freelancers and small business owners is data backup. Secure cloud storage costs money, so unless it comes free with your email plan like Google Drive does with a business Gmail account, then you might not want to pay for that. Again, there's no judgment from me here since I've been in that same boat. But I had one scary moment a few years ago where I had a break-in at my office and all of my hard drives were taken. I had a freak out moment where I realized that some of my important multimedia files had not been uploaded to the cloud, and as far as I knew, that hard drive was the only place where I had put it. Thankfully, there was one old backup that I had accidentally stored somewhere else. I'm not even going to try to pretend that I was smart enough to foresee this, and I was able to recover most, but not all of my files. I realized just how easy it is to think that I've duplicated all of my data backups, but to not actually do that. So do this exercise with me for a moment. Imagine that I steal your computer, or that somehow your cloud storage files get deleted. How big of a deal is that for your business? And what can you do to have a secure backup if you need to elsewhere? It could be a simple extra hard drive, or it could be a whole NAS setup, a network attached storage. But the point here is that you don't want this kind of single fail point in your business where one stolen device or corrupted file could set you back for months or years. Same line, I find that it's been useful to run a what-if scenario on my small business every once in a while. What do I mean by that? Well, take this for example. What if my website experiences a DDoS attack? So it goes down and people can no longer access my site. What do I do? Or what if YouTube decides that this channel does not meet their guidelines, so it suddenly gets taken down? What if my computer gets hit with ransomware? There are probably hundreds of other questions that you could ask that apply to your specific situation, so I'm not going to try to address any of them here. I simply advise you to run through that exercise at least once a year to see what reaction measures that you have in place. You've spoken with a reputable tax attorney or a CPA, you've probably heard the phrase corporate veil, particularly used in the phrase piercing the corporate veil. This, if you didn't know, is referring to the legal liability protections afforded to your business that disappears if you start mixing your personal finances and life with your business finances and life. That's very specific to taxes and legal liability, but for the sake of your security and privacy, I would say that that same corporate veil needs to exist for you. Going back to that virtual address and phone number is an easy example. I want to create a separation between my personal life and my business, even as a freelancer or a small business owner, so that the two do not get confused. I want a separate address. I want a separate phone number, separate bank account, separate credit card, separate PayPal account. I don't care if you're running your business out of your basement or even as a side hustle. Creating this kind of separation may not seem like a big deal right now, but it will provide you a lot of extra protection in the future as you grow. I want to share this note about giving out your personal data. For US residents, this could be things like filling out a W-2 or a W-9 form, or even just filling out any kind of vendor form. One advantage of having a registered business is being able to use my business ID instead of my personal ID for all of this stuff, which in my case would be my social security number. But even how we transmit this kind of information is important. Doing so on a secured website is fine, but keep in mind that if you send all this information via email, it gets stored on both your email archive and the recipient's email archive. And in some cases, that's your address, your full name, your date of birth, and your ID number. Don't be afraid to request an encrypted method to send this kind of data, or to use an encrypted email service like Proton Mail or something like Send This File to send these documents securely and in an encrypted way. If you think I've missed anything on this list, please leave a comment below. Same with questions. I'd love to answer as many questions as I can for you. Of course, if you like this idea of a virtual address and want to know more about it, you can watch this entertaining video that I did where I actually went to inspect 3 different virtual addresses in person to see what it was all about.